May 17th, the rematch, Johnny Fisher versus Dave Allen 2. A really close fight back in December. They run it back straight away. Um, was there any point over these last few months where you thought maybe the rematch wasn't going to be next for Dave?
Yeah, it was only recently, really. It sort of looks like, or we heard anything about a rematch. Obviously, there was rumours about it, and people was sort of hearing whispers that there was going to look to take the rematch. Then there was other rumours about him, Johnny's going to take a fight in between, and that was understandable. See, with him being so early on in his career, so um, it sort of came out of the blue, really. Dave was sort of saying maybe we're going to have to sort of look in a different direction. I'll just keep busy and fight, just tick over. And then we got made an offer out of the blue, and it was didn't take long to sort of tie all the loose ends up, and then it was done. And then back before we knew it, we was in London on Friday doing the press conference.
One thing that seems different from the build up to the first fight, looking at that launch press conference on Friday, is there's still that respect there between the two, but there's not so much friendliness between them now. You can tell that there's a bit of tension, especially on that Johnny Fisher end where he knows that there's a wrong to right there. Do you feel Johnny might be feeling a bit more pressure this time than what he felt going into that first fight?
Well, you'd imagine so. I think that's human nature. Is well, first of all, everybody expected him to beat Dave the first time, and by all intents and purposes, they thought it was going to be an easy job. He was going to go in there and probably 3 or 4 rounds, he would have him out of there, and that wasn't the case. We knew that that wasn't going to be the case as long as Dave was fit and was ready, which he was. Um, but he wasn't as fit and ready as he could be. You know, I said this at the presser. I think he was around about 60% really, and you know the decision was what it was. And Dave had a few weeks off over Christmas. Was straight back in the gym in January, and he's picked up where he left off, and he's sort of he's probably around about as fit as he was for the fight now, and we've still got 10 weeks left. So yeah, in all honesty, Josh, I don't really tend to worry about the other guy, regardless of who the fighter is. Um, I'm always very confident in my fighters and their ability, and as long as we do our end of the job and get them fit and conditioned and ready, the sparring goes well. There's no injuries. I'm always confident in my fighters, and that's no disrespect to any of the other fighters in the opposite corner. It's just the understanding and belief I have in the fighters what we train.
Absolutely. You mentioned the scorecards being what they are, while very close and a lot of uproar, a lot of different opinions. Will you have any input on the judges this time round in terms of is there any judge you'd prefer to have judging and officiating?
Um, we'll, we'll see what happens near the time. I think regarding what happened last time, I'd imagine if any of the judges who was involved in the first fight had appointed, then I've got an idea that you know we'll probably ask for them to be changed. I just feel like you're better off with a starting a fresh level playing field. No one who was involved in the first fight. Um, you know, in all honesty, from a neutral point of view, if if I'm Johnny Fisher, I wouldn't want the same people involved anyway because of the backlash last time. It could go against you. You know, they might tend to sway heavily in Dave's favour because of the backlash what happened last time. So it you know, it could have a negative impact on the decision. I don't want any type of controversy, regardless of whether it's positive or negative in our favour. The sport doesn't need stuff like that. The less controversy we have, the more we talk about the fight rather than the scoring and the judges or the refereeing, the better for me. So I'd rather there not be any instances where we have any type or any chance of it being controversial in any way, shape, or form.
Where can Dave Allen go if he is to beat Johnny Fisher in this rematch?
Listen, who knows? Dave, when Dave first turned pro, everyone was talking about him, raving about him because of his ability. He's always had that ability. He's never really been in a position to show it because he hasn't been conditioned and fit enough and dedicated himself to the sport. And I'm just glad for him. He's such a lovely guy. I'm just glad for him that it's come at a point in his life where it wasn't too late that he couldn't do anything about it. You know, you know, stories about fighters sat in the Labour Club 20 years after they retired saying they should have been a world champion if only they'd have dedicated themselves to it. And Dave's got all that experience under his belt now, but he's still young enough and fresh enough to be able to have an impact. Whether that's winning the British title or beyond that, who knows? But he's certainly capable of winning a British title.
Just lastly on this fight, S-Jam tweeted out a video, I think yesterday, highlighting supposed illegal shots in the first fight. What do you make of them highlighting that so far after that first date?
I haven't seen that video. That's the first I'm hearing about it. What do you mean illegal shots? Illegal shots where?
The shots to the back of the head, so shots from the clinch and stuff that land just behind the ear or on the back of the head that weren't noticed by the referee.
Yeah, well, listen, on around the ear area is a legal shot. When a fight is falling forward, it doesn't mean that it's been done intentionally. If you're aiming for the side of the head and it goes round the back of it, I don't like shots round the back of me, round the back of the head myself. It's against the rules, and I disagree with fighters doing it. If it wasn't intentional, Dave's shots weren't intentional. The ones what went round the back of the head, from what I can remember in the fight, because I haven't watched it for a while. But listen, a fighter's team are going to do anything they can to try and get point score for their fighter. Trying to gain a little advantage here and there and stuff like that. Especially in a fight which was so close, like the first fight was. Um, I don't feel like we need to do anything like that. All we need to concentrate on is getting Dave in the right type of shape and conditioning, focused, make sure his mind's in the right place, and then hopefully the judges will do the job what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. He's moving away from this fight, looking at another fighter in the stable that's got a big date. I guess two fighters have got a big date on the same bill. We'll go with Pat Brown first, headlining for his pro debut. I remember that big media launch that we had back at the back end of last year, going into the evening that they had. Have you ever been involved in someone turning over that I guess you could say has this much of a profile already, where they're headlining on their debut?
No, no, it's the first time I've seen been involved in anything as big as that. Um, the last time I saw it was probably AJ. That was the sort of biggest type of launch stuff. When AJ was turning over. Pat takes it all in his stride. It's like water off a duck's back. He loves it. He just in all honesty, he doesn't like the the media side of it in terms of having to do it. He'd rather just focus on the fighting. He's not one of these fighters who wants to be well known and wants to be um, all over the media and stuff like that. He's a quiet, humble kid, such a nice kid as well. But he can fight. He can really fight. And I feel like as time goes on, the fighting's going to do the talking. He'll always be able to hold a conversation, and he's amicable and he's a likable guy. But when he gets a pair of boxing gloves on, he's a beast. And sparring's been going really well. Preparation's going really well. We're only a couple of weeks off now, and I'm excited about it. I can't wait.
No, see, the unique part of it is while it's a pro debut and being the headliner, just to get one thing confirmed, how many rounds is his debut? Because it's one thing that I'm still unsure, and I'm sure many others
Yeah,
are.
it's the six rounder. It is, yeah.
Okay, so six rounder for the debut. Obviously, a lot of noise has been made about how good he is, and obviously we can look at that amateur pedigree that he's got. It speaks for itself. How quickly will we see him moved in his career?
I don't know. Let's see. I mean, he's got the type of ability and style where you your average prospect coming through, you'd imagine he'll be moved a bit quicker than them. But you don't want to rush things like this. I'm sure Eddie's investing a lot of money into him as well, so he'll want to make sure he does the job right. So we don't want to rush him, but he won't just be progressed as your average prospect will be. I'm pretty sure. Maybe by the time he's getting to 10 fights, he'll be around about fighting for the British title, that type of speed, because I don't want him going backwards, in all honesty. People get a false sense of where they're really at when they're going in there blasting people out of there who are not fit to be in the ring with him. And I'd rather good good prospects. We've done it with Cameron actually. We've matched him quite tough, and inside. If it was his seventh fight, he's fighting Gavin Gwynn, who was a former European champion. So um, that's probably a nice little blueprint or guideline. We'll probably move him along the way like we have done with Cameron Vaughn.